Well, happy Monday everyone. Welcome back to Bareham Engines. So guys, I'm not sure whether you can hear me, probably a bit of wind noise, do apologise because I haven't got my microphones on, but I'm just cycling to work here. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Would you look at that background? Cycling down the estuary, down the old railway track. So a little bit of history. Over that side would have been the railway track that run from Ilfracombe to Barnstaple, and this one that I'm going down here would be, I expect, from Barnstaple up to Fremington, Instow maybe, Bideford. So let's get into the workshop today and hopefully you'll be able to hear me a little bit better. Ta-da! The machine's working at long last. I was in here Saturday morning, about 10 o'clock, 10:30, for a good 3 hours, while Brad sent his mate in, Steve Martin, and another chap, to fix this machine, mate.
Nice. What we like.
And if you hear that, listen to that. Isn't that lovely and quiet?
Yeah, it sounds a lot better than it did.
First time it's ever had some oil in the gearbox, this thing. So yeah, the problem. It's funny, isn't it, how when you're missing a machine, you have a machine you think you don't use very much.
Yeah.
But as soon as it gets out of action, you realise how much you need it.
Well, it's just, the thing is with this lathe, it's often little jobs, isn't it? It's little bits and pieces you've just got to do quickly.
Yeah.
But if it ain't here, you can't do them jobs.
No.
And you need to do them jobs.
You do need to do them jobs. So this crank, I'm desperate to get done because this is for the K16 that we're going to build, and I'm going to be setting you on that task, mate, and I.
Sounds
it's going
good
to be
me.
Your first, well, apart from the Subarus you've done, it's going to be your first sort of motorsporty build. So that means
custom build as well, isn't it?
That's it, a custom build. So this one, obviously, we're going to be doing valve to piston clearance and compression ratios and all that. So it'd be quite interesting for you.
Yeah.
So need to get this crank finished. I'm on my last web now. But yeah, the machine, what was up with the machine? So, God rest his soul, old Mousy.
Make me laugh, mate.
I shouldn't laugh, bless him.
Poor
it's
little
taking
fella.
a life at the end of the day. It's a life, Isaac, isn't it?
It's a life.
So initially we thought, well, I was turning this crank. Next thing, it sounded like the gearbox was seizing up. So we've stopped the machine. John's took the top cover off. Obviously, this is the cover to the gearbox. Found out there was no oil in there. So put oil in there, sort of freed it all up. Thought that was the end of it. So thought that was the problem. Then we've gone to turn it on. Nothing happened. Took that off. Found Mousy in there.
Found little chap. Yeah.
Bless him. And we assumed it was a coincidence. Mousy's ate through the wire or done something. Turns out that wasn't the case. What actually happened, because all the switchgear was absolutely fine, in here, this is just a cover that's held on by these knurled nuts. In here we've got an emergency stop button, obviously, and there's a switch in there, an old school switch.
Yeah.
Now, the switch is all bolted to this cover, so when John's took this off, not blaming John, not throwing him under a bus here, just saying what's happened. Took this cover off here, and it's all connected, but it's sort of all a bit tight.
Yeah.
So you've got to move this out the way to get to the gearbox, and it seemed like it had pulled a wire out of inside the switch.
Yeah.
But not only that, it had done something that goes into another switch box at the back, which is almost impossible to get to.
Right.
Which this cover has got a rod that pushes a button inside it. So basically, the machine won't work without this cover being on.
Right.
But it had damaged the wiring in there. So it's all a bit of a coincidence, mate.
Yeah, it just, you know.
So they fixed
happens,
that.
Doesn't it?
It turns out that I've fired it up this morning, and it wasn't actually anything to do with the gearbox that seemed like it seized, because it was doing it again. Turns out when I took the crank out of it, the chuck had undone itself.
Really?
Yeah, and this thing had gone back and was sort of
Kept rubbing on
it was
there
rubbing
a
on
bit.
there. We
Yeah.
noticed when we fired it up, there was a bit of smoke, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a little bit. That was weird.
Yeah, so it's literally on a taper, that chuck there, and all it is just that is a big nut. You do it
So,
up,
so
do
do
it
you
up with this
think-
big C spanner.
Yeah. Do you think it might be because, well, we've done 2 cranks in a row now, haven't we? Do you think it might be the sort
Maybe.
of vibration
Because,
has
yeah, probably
loosened
because you're
it?
doing one side of the crank, dong, dong, dong.
Dong,
It's
dong,
just
yeah.
shook it a bit loose, I expect. Running smooth as silk now, mate, isn't it? Look,
Yeah.
absolutely lovely.
Sounds
Best
a
it's
lot
ever
better.
been. Best it's ever been.
Yeah.
To be fair, the gearbox oil has worked.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for it, oil in a gearbox, because it used to sort of half jump out of gears, didn't it?
Yeah, it
Shake
did if
itself
you
a bit,
weren't
and you had to
quite-
keep whacking this in.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, the gears look in great shape. So I reckon,
Weird that,
I reckon
isn't
it
it?
could go
There's no
another
oil in
70
there.
years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it, mate. I'm on my last web. Just got to take a bit more meat out there.
Oh, yeah, you're a bit thick.
and you can see how trick that crank looks
Yeah,
now.
that does. It looks really good.
So that's took quite a bit of weight out of the crank. It's going to slip through the oil nicely,
So I've still got to balance this one, haven't I?
and you've got to balance that up in a minute.
Yeah.
As soon as we get those pistons, which we are, I'm going to have a look, see where they are at the moment, but we can crack on with this, can't we?
Yeah.
We could start cracking on with the block, get the liners done, so we've got to deck the top of the block,
Yeah.
fit the new liners in there, get the heights right of the liners. We're going to be running about 2 or 3 thou protrusion on them liners. We may have to take some out of the liners when we get the pistons. They might run a bit of bigger running clearance, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's it, mate. At least we've got the lathe back.
Yeah. Good to have it back.
Good to have it back.
Good working order.
It is. Just sorry a life's been lost in the process of bringing it back to life, but there we go.
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. Do you know what? We've waited a long time for this weather, so I'm certainly not going to moan about how hot it is here in the workshop today. But yeah, just a couple of degrees lower would be nice. Anyway, hate to have a moan, you know me, but it sounds like we've had a few people maybe in the engine reconditioning game who've took a little bit of a dislike to us. Can't think why. I think we're all lovable in here, really. But I can sort of probably see where they're coming from. Now, for me, how I do business, I think why some of these people have took a little bit of a dislike to us, because we put everything on YouTube. We tell them all about the job we're doing, the prices, this, that, the other, and whether they do the same as us or not. I suppose it's exposing us, isn't it, as an industry? But I personally don't see that as a bad thing. I actually see it as a good thing. So, as I say, we get on with a lot of people in the engine reconditioning game, but I have heard through the grapevine that some people are not quite happy with what we're doing and the way we're working. But you can't please everyone, can you? So, yeah, I think my opinion is I can understand where some of these people are coming from, but they've been around. I've got a lot of respect for some people. They've been around a lot longer than I have in the game. I've actually watched them when I was growing up. You know, as I say, they've been sort of well-known names in the game. But the way I see it is, or the way I like to run a business and run my channel is, I like to be sort of, I like to treat customers as I would like to be treated. So, you know, before I started this, if ever I took stuff to have machining done or engineering work done, etc., there was certain things that used to annoy the hell out of me, like putting it to one side and not getting to it and tell you it would be done next week and it never was, things like that. Costs, I'm very upfront with costs and open. You know, I'll give a worst case scenario, even if it's looks like it's going to lose us the job. I don't sort of give the customer any false illusions as to what it's going to cost, really. But I suppose for these guys, they've been working the way they have been for many, many years. They're sort of stuck in their ways, and it always seems to me like a lot of the people in this game, especially the people that have been around for years, like it to be a bit undercover, a bit sort of don't tell the customer. Tell the customer as much as you need to tell them, but don't tell them, what's involved. A lot of people seem to be overcharging for some stuff. We don't put a tax on any brand because it's something special. We just charge our hours, the machining and parts. Simple as that, really. The way I see it, what I particularly like about the YouTube channel is that, and it's one of the reasons why we get a lot of jobs, people like to see what's been done with their engine. It's, to me, they're spending a lot of money. Even a couple of £1,000 is a lot of money. They're spending a lot of money on their engine. A lot of them are sort of building the car. They're buying the parts. It's a project. The whole experience is a project. Why should one bit of it be top secret? Not quite knowing where your money's going. So I like to educate them. It's a bit of entertainment for them. At least they hopefully gain a bit of knowledge along the way, so they sort of know how everything works. That's the way I see it. That's the way I would like it if I was a customer and maybe wasn't so knowledgeable. So yeah, a lot of our customers are home enthusiasts. They've got a bit of knowledge, but not enough knowledge to obviously go to the extents that we go to. And like I say, as far as the charging goes, it's up to you what you charge. But the way I see it is, if you get to the point where you've got to sort of keep it secret to justify the amount you spend, you're charging, you're probably charging a little bit too much, maybe. But as I say, that's just my opinion. So yeah, that is my response to any people out there that sort of took a bit of a disliking to us because of what we do on the channel, etc., exposing the industry. But like I say, you can't please everyone. That's the way I like to work, and that's the way I would like to be treated if I was a customer. That's a nice cylinder head, mate. What is that?
That is a, don't know what Skyline, but it's a Skyline.
It's an RB25, not a 26, but quite a sought after one apparently.
Yeah.
And what the difference is, I don't know. Looks a bit ported, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a bit.
Very nice.
Yeah, it looks lovely.
So what are we doing?
Cutting the seats.
Nice.
Valve seats. Just because...
Is this the one for Bob Dove Motorsport?
Yeah, the Doves.
One Paul dropped in?
Yeah.
So we're just cutting the seat, so we're giving it a little freshen up?
Yeah. So what I do, I don't know what you do, but I sort of loosely do this up once I've got it all centred.
Yeah.
I wind it down until it starts to touch. And I just give it a little tap until it goes round without
just sort of
touching the seat.
Yeah. That's a good idea, yeah.
It saves you sort of starting a cut and going, oh, that's too much, and then having to come off and...
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
So I do that, and then I...
It's weird, this new machine. We haven't showed them this for a while, but the old one was CNC, so on the top here you had a button you just pressed, and that sort of centred itself off the guide. But actually this one does seem a lot more accurate, I find.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But I think the issue with this head that I've been having is we haven't quite got the perfect size pilot for it. Yeah,
that's the thing. You do need...
Because
the better fit the pilot, the better it is, really.
Yeah, certain stuff we've got like a really good one. But this must be an odd size, bit of an odd size, and
yeah, so anyone that hasn't seen this before, on the top here you've got that activates the magnetic base, which obviously this is steel, so this clamps the cylinder head, and what you try and do is clamp it as in line with the seats as you can. It doesn't matter if you're a bit out, because all it means is it just sort of, you don't want it enough out that it's going to bottom out this thing here.
So you basically want that and that to be like parallel.
As parallel as possible, yeah. So then you activate the magnetic base once you've put it in the guide there. This one locks
movement in that sort of...
Yeah, so you sort of get this one... If you haven't got a perfect fit with the guide, you can sort of do it by hand, and you get it as much in the centre as you can, and then you lock it off with this one here, which is just a turn screw, isn't it?
Yeah, so once I've got that how I want it, so that feels like it's a bit on one side again. It's a bit better. had to do too much
No.
with it.
And this is
Hopefully.
a motorised drive, which
Yeah.
obviously is, you've got a motor at the back there, which runs a flexi cable all the way down to the head, activated by that button behind Isaac's finger.
That's
And you just wind
going quite well.
Wind that down very slowly. There is a little gauge under there, isn't there? Which
Yeah,
is a metric gauge. So you've got to see, for example, the 4 to 5 is 0.1 of a mil. So each very tiny little increment is
0.01, isn't it? 0.01?
Yeah, something like that. 0.01 of a mil. Metrics still
small.
don't mean anything to me, mate.
I don't know how, but somehow I do find it more confusing.
Yeah, I do.
And I shouldn't.
I don't know why. I just can picture a thou. Can't picture 0.025.
No, it's weird.
There we go.
Mm.
So yeah, you're just running a, what
Nice
we're running, a
light cut
3
on that.
angle or just a straight
Just
45?
a straight 45 on that one.
So that would be an insert there that he hasn't cut yet. You can see that one there, look, where he's just cut the 45. If you start on these, trying to do the 3 angle, you can run into a bit of bother, can't you?
Yeah.
So the 3 angles are good if you've got to take a lot of material off. So if the seat is quite out of true, then you'd put the 3 face in there. But
if you're only giving it a little lick,
just put the 45
angles
on.
Anyway.
And the good thing about putting the 45 on, getting the 45 a little bit bigger than the cutter would be, is it just prolongs the life of the seat, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, so these are solid lifter converted, aren't they?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
We don't want to take too much off.
Don't want to go mental.
And that's why I'm centering it by hand a bit, because if you do start taking a cut and it's a bit lopsided, then you've got to stop and start again and go deep enough to go over the bit you've just cut on the piss. So
that's right, yeah. And obviously with these, when you've got even with a hydraulic, a lot of the ball type hydraulics now have not got a lot of leeway. So the more you cut the seat, the more the valve's going to go that way and close up either the hydraulic or close up the clearances.
Yeah.
And some stuff's a bit finicky and you can't get the shims thin enough, can you? So you've got to be a bit careful.
You do a bit.
Otherwise, you've got to start running into putting new inserts in and lifting the valve back up.
Yeah.
So just a skim after this, mate?
Yeah, he wants 10 thou off.
Oh, okay.
So I guess he's up in compression.
Up in the compression slightly.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching today's video. Now get off the computer or your phone, whatever you're on. Go out and enjoy this weather. Go on. See you on Wednesday.